the whistles that changed Western cinema forever. When was the last time you heard a film score that made you stop in your tracks? For fans of Western cinema, Ennio Morricone's name conjures immediate images of Clint Eastwood's squinting eyes and dramatic Mexican standoffs. But beyond the good, the bad, and the ugly lies a treasure trove of lesser-known Western masterpieces where Morricone's genius runs wild. These forgotten scores didn't just accompany films, they revolutionized cinema sound forever, influencing everyone from Tarantino to modern hip-hop producers. Ready to discover the sonic frontier you never knew existed? The Big Gundown, 1966. The soundtrack that launched 1,000 imitators, but remains criminally underappreciated. Lee Van Cleef stars in this Sergio Solima-directed gem that features one of Morricone's most innovative and groundbreaking scores. While most film composers of the era relied on traditional orchestration, Morricone threw convention out the window, introducing a radical mix of trumpet fanfares, avant-garde instrumentals, and chorus vocals that created an entirely new sonic language for the Western genre. The film's main theme starts with those unforgettable trumpet blasts that seem to announce something monumental is about to happen. The genius lies in how Morricone intertwines this with whispering vocals and unexpected instrumentation that perfectly mirrors the cat-and-mouse chase between Van Cleef's bounty hunter and Thomas Millian's cunning fugitive. What makes this score revolutionary is how Morricone used his music to transform standard Western scenarios into operatic drama. The compositions didn't just complement the action, they elevated it to mythic proportions. Tarantino was so moved by this score that he later borrowed elements for *Inglourious Bastards*, introducing a new generation to its power. Despite the film's cult status among Western aficionados, most casual fans have never experienced this masterpiece that demonstrates Morricone's ability to make instruments speak in ways no one had imagined before. Face to Face, 1967. When a genius composer met a tale of moral degradation, cinema history was quietly made. This Sergio Solima Western stars Gian Maria Volonté as a professor who falls in with Thomas Millian's outlaw, embarking on a descent into moral corruption that few films of the era dared to portray. What makes Morricone's score exceptional is how it charts this psychological journey through sound. The score begins with dignified, almost aristocratic themes representing the professor's academic world, then gradually introduces discordant elements as his character transforms. Morricone created a musical narrative that parallels the film's exploration of how civilization and savagery are often two sides of the same coin. Most impressive is the haunting finale piece, where choral arrangements and strings create an atmosphere of tragic inevitability. This wasn't just background music, it was psychological storytelling through sound. The film's examination of how easily morality can crumble when tested made it controversial upon release, causing many distributors to pass on it despite its artistic merits. Film scholars now recognize this score as one of Morricone's most sophisticated compositions, demonstrating his understanding that the most compelling westerns were never just about gunfights, but about the human condition itself. Death Rides a Horse, 1967. The revenge score that inspired Kill Bill decades before Tarantino was a household name. Giulio Petroni's revenge tale, starring Lee Van Cleef and John Philip Law, features one of Morricone's most intense and psychologically probing scores. The film follows a young man seeking vengeance against the bandits who massacred his family, with Van Cleef as his unlikely mentor. Morricone's genius emerges in how he uses dissonant choral arrangements and sharp staccato instrumentation to represent trauma and memory. The main theme features an unsettling choir that seems to cry out in anguish, punctuated by aggressive guitar strums that sound like slashes of a knife. The composer created recurring musical motifs that trigger whenever the protagonist experiences flashbacks to his trauma, an innovative technique that makes the audience feel the character's psychological state. This psychological dimension elevated what could have been a standard revenge tale into something far more profound. Tarantino was so moved by this score that he prominently featured it in Kill Bill Volume 1 inch during key scenes. Yet, despite this modern recognition, many Western fans have never experienced the original film where this revolutionary music first appeared, missing out on one of cinema's most perfect marriages of visual storytelling and musical composition. Navajo Joe, 1966. The score that brought indigenous musical elements into the Western soundscape in revolutionary ways. Sergio Corbucci's film, starring Burt Reynolds as a Native American seeking revenge against scalp hunters, features one of Morricone's most culturally adventurous scores. Working under the pseudonym Leo Nichols, Morricone created a soundtrack that incorporated stylized Native American vocal elements and percussion in ways never before heard in Western cinema. The main theme, with its dramatic vocal chants and driving rhythmic elements, creates an immediate sense of otherness that perfectly positions Reynolds' character as an outsider seeking justice in a hostile world. Instead of relying on stereotypical Indian music, Morricone created something both respectful and dramatically powerful. What's remarkable is how Morricone used these ethnic elements not as exotic decoration, but as integral emotional components of the storytelling. The percussion and vocal arrangements intensify during action sequences, creating a visceral, almost tribal energy that puts viewers directly into the protagonist's experience. Despite Reynolds later dismissing the film as one of his worst, music critics and film composers still study this score for its innovative fusion of cultural elements and dramatic tension. It remains one of the most distinctive Western soundtracks ever created, yet is rarely discussed alongside Morricone's more famous works. The Return of Ringo, 1965. The Western reimagining of the Odyssey that gave us one of Morricone's most emotionally rich scores. Duccio Tesseri's film starring Giuliano Gemma tells the story of a Civil War veteran who returns home to find his wife betrothed to another man and his town under the control of Mexican bandits. This loose adaptation of Homer's Odyssey provided Morricone with the perfect canvas for one of his most emotionally nuanced scores. What makes this soundtrack special is its melancholic beauty and thematic richness. The main theme, performed with vocals by Maurizio Graf, establishes a tone of nostalgic longing that perfectly captures the protagonist's yearning for a home that no longer exists. As the film progresses, Morricone transforms this theme, making it darker and more determined as the hero reclaims his identity. Unlike many Western scores that focus primarily on tension and action, this one delves deeply into loss, identity, and redemption. Morricone uses subtle musical shifts to signal the protagonist's emotional journey from defeated soldier to determined avenger. Film historians now recognize this as one of the most sophisticated early spaghetti Western scores, demonstrating Morricone's range beyond the iconic but more stylized compositions he created for Leone's films. Yet mainstream audiences rarely mention it when discussing the composer's greatest works. A Bullet for the General, 1966. When political ideology met Morricone's genius, a revolutionary soundtrack was born. Damiano Damiani's politically charged Zapata Western stars Gian Maria Volonté as a Mexican revolutionary, and Lou Castel as a mysterious American with his own agenda. This film, with its examination of revolution and imperialism, inspired Morricone to create one of his most politically charged scores. The genius of this soundtrack lies in how Morricone blends traditional Mexican musical elements with his signature experimental techniques. The main theme combines mariachi-inspired trumpets with unusual percussion and choral elements, creating a sound that's both culturally specific and dramatically universal. Most impressive is how Morricone uses musical contrasts to highlight the film's ideological conflicts. The revolutionary characters get sweeping, passionate themes, while the American character is accompanied by colder, more mechanical musical motifs, subtly underscoring the film's political message through sound. Despite being one of the most thoughtful and politically complex westerns of its era, the film remains largely overlooked by casual fans, and with it, one of Morricone's most intellectually engaging scores. Modern political filmmakers still study this soundtrack for its ability to communicate ideology through music without resorting to heavy-handedness. Tepepa, 1969. The forgotten masterpiece where Morricone scored the clash between idealism and brutal reality. This Giulio Petroni film stars Tomas Milian as a Mexican revolutionary and Orson Welles as a ruthless colonel, with John Steiner as an English doctor seeking revenge. This complex tale of revolution, betrayal, and vengeance inspired one of Morricone's most politically nuanced scores. What makes this soundtrack remarkable is how it captures the disillusionment that follows revolutionary fervor. The main theme begins with proud, almost triumphant elements that gradually give way to more melancholic and ambiguous tones, mirroring the film's exploration of how revolutionary ideals often crumble in practice. Morricone brilliantly uses contrasting musical motifs for each main character. Folk-inspired themes for Milian's revolutionary, cold and precise arrangements for Welles's colonel, and haunting, obsessive melodies for the vengeful doctor. This musical characterization adds psychological depth to an already complex narrative. Despite featuring Orson Welles and tackling themes that remain politically relevant today, the film has been largely forgotten by mainstream audiences, taking with it one of Morricone's most sophisticated examinations of the human cost of political violence and ideological conflict. Compañeros, 1970, the buddy western that gave us one of Morricone's most exuberant and joyful scores. Sergio Corbucci's film stars Franco Nero and Tomas Milian as unlikely allies during the Mexican Revolution, with Jack Palance as their nemesis. This combination of revolutionary politics, buddy dynamics, and Corbucci's trademark brutality inspired Morricone to create one of his most energetic and varied scores. The main theme captures the film's essence perfectly, starting with a militant drum pattern before exploding into a jubilant, almost celebratory arrangement that communicates both revolutionary fervor and the unexpected friendship at the story's heart. Throughout the film, Morricone alternates between rousing action pieces and more contemplative compositions that underscore the characters' evolving relationship. What's particularly impressive is how Morricone balances the film's contrasting tones, from broad comedy to shocking violence, with a score that somehow unifies these elements into a coherent whole. The music brings emotional truth to even the most outlandish scenarios. Despite being one of Corbucci's most successful films internationally, it remains overshadowed by Django in popular culture, meaning many fans have never experienced this uniquely vibrant entry in Morricone's Western catalog that showcases his ability to infuse revolutionary politics with genuine heart. Guns for San Sebastian, 1968. When sacred and secular collided in Morricone's most spiritually complex Western score. Henri Verneuil's film stars Anthony Quinn as an outlaw mistaken for a priest and Charles Bronson as a mysterious adversary. This unusual premise, an atheist forced to become a spiritual leader, inspired Morricone to create one of his most thematically rich and emotionally complex scores. What makes this soundtrack extraordinary is how it blends religious musical elements with traditional Western motifs. The score features church-like choral arrangements and organ-inspired melodies that gradually transform as Quinn's character evolves from reluctant imposter to genuine spiritual leader. This musical journey parallels the film's exploration of faith found in unexpected circumstances. Morricone creates a fascinating musical dialogue between the sacred and profane worlds of the story. The contrast between solemn, almost liturgical compositions and more traditional action-oriented pieces creates a sonic representation of the protagonist's internal conflict between his outlaw past and newfound purpose. Despite featuring two major Hollywood stars and a score that ranks among Morricone's most emotionally sophisticated works, the film has been largely forgotten in discussions of great westerns, denying many fans the experience of this uniquely spiritual entry in the composer's catalog. What Am I Doing in the Middle of the Revolution? 1972. The Western comedy that proved Morricone's genius extended far beyond tension and drama. This Sergio Corbucci comedy stars Vittorio Gassman as a theater actor who accidentally becomes involved in revolutionary activities in Mexico. This lighthearted premise inspired Morricone to showcase a rarely seen side of his compositional talent, his gift for comedy and satire. The genius of this score lies in how Morricone playfully subverts the musical conventions he helped establish in more serious westerns. The main theme has an almost circus-like quality, with exaggerated flourishes and theatrical elements that perfectly capture the film's farcical tone while still maintaining recognizable Western motifs. Most impressive is how Morricone uses musical quotation and pastiche throughout the score, referencing both classical music and his own earlier Western themes in comically exaggerated ways. This self-awareness adds another layer of sophistication to what might otherwise be dismissed as a mere genre parody. Despite featuring one of Italy's most celebrated actors and representing a rare comedic collaboration between Morricone and Corbucci, the film remains largely unknown outside of dedicated spaghetti Western circles, robbing casual fans of the opportunity to experience the composer's remarkable versatility and wit. The whistle of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly might have made Morricone a household name, but these 10 overlooked masterpieces reveal the true depth of his genius. From revolutionizing how music could express political ideology to reimagining what Western film music could sound like, these scores weren't just background noise. They were sonic revolutions that forever changed cinema's soundscape. If you enjoyed this exploration of Morricone's lesser-known Western scores, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share with fellow film music enthusiasts. Which of these hidden Morricone masterpieces intrigued you most? Let us know in the comments below.